Hello, I am Dr. Raglan of Zombie Hunter University, back from a long sabbatical to resume my series of lectures on boss hunting. Today, we take on the Wraith. In the hierarchy of boss zombies infesting Fairview, the Wraith is the next step up from the Flaming Titan. In fact, the Wraith's health, 15,000 points, is exactly the same as that of a Flaming Titan, while the damage it inflicts per strike is the same as that of an ordinary Titan. This makes the Wraith seem less dangerous than a Flaming Titan, but that is a misperception, for reasons we will discuss shortly. For the moment, students should merely note that the Wraith is faster than a Flaming Titan. Before we discuss weapons, a brief reminder about armor, endurance, and agility. These three aspects of your build help you avoid and/or survive damage inflicted upon your person. The longer you stay alive, the more time you will have to kill your target. With enough armor, endurance, and agility, you could kill a Wraith with your bare fists, although it would take several hours. For our purposes, we recommend using weapons that inflict enough damage to theoretically kill your target in 2 minutes. Of course, this is a mathematical ideal impossible to achieve in real-world applications, but it provides a useful baseline for selecting the minimum weapon likely to provide a good chance for success. Here is a list of single-shot weapons recommended for fighting Wraiths. The weapons listed in boldface meet our 2-minute requirement. The others are useful for those with enough armor, endurance, and agility to survive a little longer. We prefer long-range rifles because their greater accuracy allows students to snipe Wraiths from a distance, but with correctly allocated stats, short-range rifles and pistols will work as well. Next up, grinding weapons. As much as possible, we prefer to avoid using machine guns and shotguns against Wraiths because these weapons are better for firing into crowds than for targeting individual zombies. However, they are helpful when dealing with the aggro that tends to surround Wraiths. Chainsaws can also be useful in limited circumstances. Melee weapons and grenade launchers are definitely not recommended for use against Wraiths. Even more than machine guns and shotguns, grenade launchers cannot focus their firepower on the intended target. Most of the damage will be wasted or spent on other zombies. Melee, on the other hand, can deliver all its damage to the Wraith. However, it is difficult to use effectively. Wraiths first appear at the easternmost edge of the yellow zones of Fairview City, but they are far more prevalent in orange zones near Fort Pastor and other zones even farther east. This leads to the major problem of Wraith hunting, aggro in the more densely populated areas beyond Fort Pastor. On its own, a Wraith is relatively simple to hunt, even for a moderately skilled student. Surrounded by dozens of other zombies, the Wraith becomes much more intimidating, as you can see. One solution is to find protection from the aggro. In this video, Tacky, our test subject, is just coming around a corner. There's a wall. He thinks that perhaps it will trap some of the zombies. Also, this street has several cars piled in it, so he's going to pause here, and he's going to use those cars as cover while he tries to focus on the Wraith. He is using a gore-tooth chainsaw, which delivers a little bit more than 381 damage points per second. This is enough to kill the Wraith in 40 seconds of continuous contact. Needless to say, that's not going to happen. You can see that even with these cars blocking some of the zombies, he's still got some interference there. It's impossible to focus solely on his target. He really needs to find a safer, more secure place in which he can focus his chainsaw grinding power upon the Wraith. Tacky has found a tennis court. The only trick is to lure the Wraith in after him. This is not so difficult to do. Wraiths, like all zombies, tend to run straight at the human they are chasing. So all he has to do is stand near that gate, and sure enough, it follows him in. Now he needs to get away from that gate as soon as possible in order to avoid luring other zombies inside. He doesn't do that quite as soon as he should, so he is going to have to deal with a few interlopers here. But even so, you can see that he is in a much better position than he was out on the street, where he had to deal with a continuing stream of aggro. Here, once he's done with those few, he can concentrate almost all of his attention on the Wraith. Jumping forward about a minute or so, we can see that Tacky is well on his way towards success. The Wraith is flinching from contact with the chainsaw and is going to die soon. By the way, the reason we're focusing on chainsaw first is it's the only reliable way to turn a profit hunting Wraiths. If you go in blazing with machine guns, you're going to spend more on ammo than you're going to collect from the loot. And we can see Tacky has successfully completed his mission to kill the Wraith. He's collecting his reward, which turns out to be an SN-42 armor worth over $11,000, so he's sure to turn a profit since he never fired even a single shot during this encounter. If chainsaws can kill Wraiths, so should melee, right? Well, it's not impossible, but we would not recommend it. In this video, Yuki08, a level 62 student, is attacking a Wraith with a dual blade, a 120 proficiency melee weapon that delivers over 140 damage points per second. That's enough to kill the Wraith in 107 seconds, well below our 2-minute limit. The first thing worth pointing out is that, as intimidating as the Wraith's tentacles are, there is nothing stopping Yuki08 from walking up to the Wraith and whacking it to death with her dual blade. The only dangerous tentacle is the one that reaches out and strikes directly in front, so if she can keep to the sides or behind, she is safe. The problem is, as good as the dual blade is for targeting an individual zombie, it's not good at clearing aggro, so the usual circling tactic that we use with melee does not work for Wraith hunting. The other melee strategy, retreat and strike, is even less effective. With other bosses, a student can run backward, striking when the boss pauses to attack. However, Wraiths will stop well before they are within the strike zone, and their long tentacles will still be able to reach their human targets no matter how fast students backpedal. If you can find a tennis court, perhaps you can possibly vanquish a Wraith, but the dual blade will take much longer than the gore tooth. That's why we recommend using other weapons. Here, Yuki08 switches to a machine gun. We generally do not recommend machine guns for hunting Wraiths because their accuracy ranges from low to very low to ultra low. Wraiths move in short bursts followed by pauses, so they often end up across the screen or even off screen where machine gun bullets are likely to miss. Nevertheless, machine guns can be useful for students who do not trust their dodging skills. They will clear aggro and provide enough knockback to keep you safe from the Wraith. Shotguns provide similar service, but they are less effective at actually pinpointing a specific target. The machine gun used here is a K50M. It's not the most powerful weapon, but its DPS of 150 points per second is enough to theoretically kill the Wraith in 100 seconds. It's a submachine gun, which is slightly more accurate than a heavy machine gun or a minigun, so there is more chance of the ammunition hitting the Wraith. You can circle and grind if you want to rack up experience points by killing hordes of zombies, but we recommend retreating around the block to thin out aggro and focus on the Wraith. When retreating, it's important not to move in a straight line. The Wraith will catch up and strike you. Instead, weave in a zigzag pattern so that when the Wraith's tentacle strikes directly in front of her, you will be slightly off to one side. When the Wraith shows signs of distress, Yuki08 switches to her Rebellion rifle. This is a limited edition weapon, but it's not much different from an easily obtainable VSS Vintorez. Its DPS is enough to kill the Wraith in 132 seconds. That's over our 2-minute preference, but in some cases, more DPS is not necessarily better. In practical terms, the Rebellion is more likely to kill the Wraith faster than the K50M because higher accuracy ensures that more bullets will find their mark. In fact, with good dodging skills, a student could possibly kill a Wraith using only a rifle of this caliber. For students who prefer pistols, we recommend using at least an Alpha Bull. With stats optimized, it is effectively the same as a VSS Vintorez. Note that Yuki08 no longer needs to weave left and right after the Wraith is wounded. It is more susceptible to knockback, so the rifle slows it down, keeping Yuki safe. At this point, the conclusion of the boss hunt is almost a certainty, barring any major mistakes. And there it is, the Wraith falls. That's how it's done. Thanks for watching. I will return in the near future with a lecture on how to hunt flaming Wraiths.